Hi, everybody. Assuming I did this right, you are watching Trekker's Delight, and I have with me the geeky dad, Rafael Morant, and I've got Marco of Entertainment Rants, who is no longer going to be in the comments for this one. He's actually going to
Although I might still be
here.
I might still be.
Yeah, we'll see. We'll see. I have faith that
he's gonna put the logo in the comments somewhere.
Yes.
Right? I mean, I'm amazed that he hasn't branded this podcast.
Not yet. Not yet. I'm working on it.
As a subsidiary of Entertainment Rants.
I'm working on it.
So tonight,
just putting my phone down. I'm just putting my phone. I have to put my phone down.
Excuse me. I'm gonna keep drinking. I can't even get to what I'm supposed to be getting to at this point because Marco's just branding my podcast. So tonight, since Strange New Worlds has ended and we have a bit of breathing room, we've decided to do something a little bit different for you guys. We are going to be talking all things Star Trek IV, The Voyage Home. We are going to be saving some whales tonight.
There be whales here.
Literally one of my favorite lines in American cinema. So with no further ado, I am going to attempt to load the intro. So everybody cross their fingers. I'm starting to feel
I got everything crossed.
Awesome. Guess who managed? I'm so proud.
Woohoo!
I managed. I just came on to promote my book and then I was going to lose.
Guess who managed? I'm so proud. Woohoo!
I just came on to promote my book.
Somebody needs himself some headphones.
I know, right? I know.
That's probably me. Hold on.
I was like, sounding a little weird, guys. Just is. It's sounding a little weird.
Well, I got all this nonsense in front of my face.
Oh, let me get rid of it. I wasn't expecting a fourth person. Calm down. Let me see if I can figure out where it is. Here it is. Let's just hide that. Okay.
There it is. Hey, Marco's back.
I don't know. I mean, you could have done.
I think I'm getting a text. Hold on. I think I'm gonna get a text. Hold on. A text there.
I'm kind of.
I put it to sleep. Don't worry.
I'm kind of amazed actually that you don't have the hat on today.
No, I just got.
I'm still waiting for my shirt.
Oh yeah,
I'm still waiting for a place to send them.
You have a valid point. So anyway, we are going to welcome Jason McCammon to tonight's broadcast. Hi, Jason.
Hello.
Hello.
And yeah, so Star Trek IV. Who wants to open us with a brief summary? Although, I got to tell you, if you need a summary for Star Trek IV, why are you watching this podcast?
Sure.
Let's be real. But let's do it anyway. So who wants to fall on that particular sword? Oh, Marco.
I'll be happy to. I mean, I'm going to give you the Reader's Digest, IMDb version, basically. I mean, basically what's happening is there's a probe that has now made its way to the basic Federation and to Earth. And basically it's this giant looking weird 80s
cylinder, man. It's a
cylinder, black, kind of thing with a ball hanging out the side, and it's putting out a sound.
Yeah,
it's putting out a particular sound, and it's disrupting all the electronics and everything going on in Earth and the stations, and they can't figure out what it is, and they finally dial it down to the fact that it's a humpback whale song, and they're long since extinct on Earth. The thing's coming back basically to talk to the humpback whales, but we did our job and got rid of them all. So they have to, so basically the crew of the Enterprise has to steal, if I'm not mistaken, they stole a a Klingon ship.
Yes.
So the fun part about that is they actually stole it in Star Trek 3.
Right, and they're still
so-
kind of hopping on it. They're still kind of hopping with it.
They've been chilling on Vulcan now for like 6 months, 3 months, something like that.
Their new hoopty is kind of cool. They're like, "Wait, we're gonna roll with this thing," and they basically do the fun slingshot around the sun to time travel back to the 80s. I'm not sure. Is this one of our first time travel?
It is
definitely in the movies.
In the movies,
In the movies, it is. Not in the series in general.
They're actually building on Tomorrow Was Yesterday.
Right.
Because I think that's actually the first time that we see this amazing, we're going to slingshot and go into time warp.
Yes.
I swear to God, every time they say time warp, like I'm all like, it's just a step to that.
Yeah, exactly. It's absolutely. It's definitely that.
Every time.
So we go back to the 80s. We got to basically find a way to get whales onto the ship, onto this vessel, because we have to find the nuclear vessel to find how to get. Basically, we have to make walls. Nuclear vessels to find walls to put in the ship to then basically find it to do transport whales. They find these 2 whales at the aquarium essentially. Where were they exactly? I know it's in.
They're in the Cetacean Institute, which is basically attempting to be the Monterey Bay Aquarium.
Thank you.
Right.
And so they have to basically find a way to transport these whales onto the ship with the water, mind you, and basically get slingshot back into the future and let the whales do their job and talk to this probe to make it calm down.
Like, how many 80s references are we going to get in here? Like, we've got Back to the Future.
Yeah. We got the guy with the punk hair.
Yep.
Yeah. He shows up in Picard, aluminum. Actually.
And that I loved. I love the fact that fan service, him showing back up in Picard.
Yeah.
Was right.
And the fun part is like, as another piece of trivia that you may or may not know, he actually wrote the song.
Oh, yes. I heard about that.
He's the one who did it. And just for shits and giggles, basically. And there goes YouTube getting angry with me. But, whatever.
I got to check out his IMDb and see if it's 2 movies.
I have no idea. But he did write the song. And so, like, that was one of the best parts about, like, the whole situation. And apparently he's performed it live a few locations for, like, nerds. And I'd say that, like, I wouldn't be there in the front row.
Yeah.
All right.
Later.
So they slingshot back. They drop the whales off. There's kind of a kerfluffle in San Francisco Bay.
As there would be.
Right. It involves a lot of really wet Shatner.
And Leonard Nimoy.
Which you may not like.
Excuse me.
A lot of Leonard Nimoy.
That wig really stayed on tight on his hair, right?
I got to tell you, that was amazing, right? Like, I mean, I'm looking at that going, nothing has moved.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, even when he comes out of the water and everybody else is looking fairly melted, up to and including Nichelle Nichols, right? And it is a tenet of like curly hair, black women hair. Thou shalt not get that shit wet. And like she's looking all melted, and somehow Shatner's Brillo pad is like completely fine.
Yeah.
In his like amazing aubergine nursing outfit.
Super glue.
I never even noticed that.
Oh yeah, I've watched this movie so many times.
Right.
So many times.
Also, the second actor from Seventh Heaven.
That's true.
Yeah.
That's true. The actress who plays Gillian Taylor, Catherine Hicks, was the wife in Seventh Heaven.
I find it strange that they didn't show whether they followed up on where this Oumuamua thing was going after it left. Just kind of like let it walk off into the sunset.
I gotta tell you, like I was a little grossed out by that, and I'm still grossed out by that because like I'm going over here. I'm like, Catherine Hicks was 35, Shatner was 50-ish,
yeah,
55-ish, yeah.
Go Bill!
And I'm like, you're literally squeezing this in, and all of their flirting was just super awkward, like super awkward. I don't know if it's because Shatner was just like, I'm too good for you or what. But
was he that old at that time? He was 50 something?
He was 55.
Yeah.
Wow. He's got to be like 90 by now then, right?
Yeah, he is. Yeah. Leonard Nimoy directed this one, right?
He did.
Yeah.
And and this is why we can all blame Leonard Nimoy for Star Trek V.
Oh, yeah. Because Shatner was jealous, basically.
So
right?
they actually had reciprocal God clauses in their contracts, which is anything you can do, I can do better. Yeah, like literally, guys, that was a thing. If one of them got to do one thing, then the other one had to. So like when Nimoy negotiated as part of his contract to come back for Star Trek 3, because initially he was done after Star Trek 2. Like the Wrath of Khan, he's like, "I'll be dead, y'all. I'm good." And then they were like, "But we have more movies / money to make. Could you come back?" And he's like, "Only if you let me direct one." And so they were like, "Fine, you do Star Trek 3, and the next one's yours." And then Shatner pops up and goes, "Aha!
My turn."
Yeah, and that's why we get Star Trek 5.
Is this before 3 Men and a Baby or after?
That's an excellent question. Isn't this 1986, the release date for The Voyage Home?
I think so.
So I don't remember when 3 Men and a Baby was, because the French original was significantly earlier.
Yep, 1986.
Because that was Troisième en Poussin, which I have seen.
It was the Steve Gutenberg Prime era.
It was the
80s.
Prime era.
Yeah.
Ooh.
Hot off Police Academy. Yeah.
Ooh.
And Short Circuit.
And Cocoon.
And Cocoon.
And Cocoon.
Yeah.
Whatever you
Yeah,
can.
and none of these are not creepy.
I mean, throw a shoe, you're hitting Steve Gutenberg.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Right?
He needs a comeback.
Does he though?
Everybody needs a comeback.
Does he?
Not if he's the same Steve Gutenberg. Like if he's involved, you know.
I don't know, man. Like Raphael's gonna make a couple of these really awkward suggestions, and he's gonna get muted. I'm just saying. I am not above abusing my power.
Yeah. Go ahead.
I mean, this is Jermaine's like, Marie gets to run this one, and I'm like, I'm all Gendo with Kari up in this bitch.
So basically, what Jermaine is actually saying is this episode is the equivalent of Star Trek 5.
Oh.
Snap. I feel the power coming on. There it is. There's the power.
I'm sorry.
I'm
sorry.
Wow.
Something seems to be missing now.
I knew she was gonna do it. I felt it. And here's the thing: if she wasn't gonna do it, I was gonna take myself out. Like,
Because we're adults, y'all. We're adults.
Oh yeah.
So is Star Trek 4 out of the 159 million ways to go through time in Star Trek? Is this like the easiest way to go through time?
It's the
I think
slingshot
this
around the time.
was. I think this was actually one that they already had in place, because, like I mentioned earlier, we had already done this by accident in Tomorrow Was Yesterday.
Oh, I forgot about that.
Right.
In the original series, so they were actually just building on stuff that they already knew,
Right.
and was already canon. Which, y'all, I kind of really liked that. As far as
Like
the
it
scripting
was
decision.
canon, but I just feel like it was like it's so easy that everybody would be doing it if it was that easy.
Well, I mean, except it's not, because they make a comment to that effect, right? Like they're like, yeah, no, I mean, we're either going to get fried or we're going to go back in time.
Well, they
like, those are
say
the
that
options.
because they have to say that. The same thing with Picard. It's got to be calculated. So we need either a Vulcan or a Borg to do it. But it's never been failed.
What did they use in First Contact again to go back in time with?
That was Borg.
That was the Borg that did it, but they did it in the show Picard.
Yeah,
Okay.
they did in the show Picard as well.
I mean, if you think about it, it kind of makes sense, because what the Borg probably did was a combination of what they did in First Contact and the Voyage Home. Like putting it 2 and 2 together. Like
that makes some sense.
Yeah.
That makes some sense.
Yeah.
So, all right. So Voyage Home, right? I tend to call this the gateway drug for the original series and the original series movies.
Yeah.
I know for a fact that this was my first Star Trek movie.
It was mine too. Yeah.
Mine too.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Wrath of Khan was my first. Actually, no, the first one was my first one.
Ooh. And you came back?
I didn't remember it, but I did remember Wrath of Khan.
I thought of the original series movies that Wrath of Khan and The Voyage Home were the top 2 movies.
I think they are.
Yeah.
So I would actually dispute that. I would say Wrath of Khan and Star Trek 6 are the
Really? I
Undiscovered
thought
Country.
people hated Star Trek 6.
I think it's a much better film.
I think that's 5.
It's
5
generally,
everybody hates.
it's generally understood that the even numbers are the good ones and the odd ones are not the good ones.
Right.
So why is this? What's the consensus now? What is it? Well, I don't.
The consensus? I feel like that there's not a consensus because like
Right.
have you ever tried? I mean, trying to get trekkers to agree on anything is like herding cats on a good day, and on a bad day, it's like herding spiders.
Well, I think the consensus is that Star Trek 4 is a well-liked fan
It's a
favorite
classic.
movie,
Yeah.
you know. And Star Trek 2 is a well-liked fan favorite, but it's totally different reasons. Star Trek 2 is more serious. You got serious
Right, yeah.
combat.
Mm-hmm.
Star
Right.
Trek 4 was just a fun. Let's have fun with the past and have
See
fun
a
with the
lot of
characters
Leonard
and-
Nimoy and Tidy Whities.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and show how stupid they are when they come to our time. You know.
Right.
Well,
because
I mean, I think it had
was
more
the
to do with
It
William.
was the 90s, right?
No.
When they get the period that they came back to.
No,
It
it
was
was
the
1960s.
80s.
No, it was the 80s. Yeah.
Ooh.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
okay.
Yeah, it was the 80s.
My bad. Okay.
Yeah, so they theoretically come back to 1980 something, but realistically it's 1986. Because
Is it
that's
the
when that's when
first-
film dropped.
Is it the first Star Trek movie to have a swear word too?
Yes.
Double
Yes.
dumbass on
Are
you.
you serious? Surely they've cursed in motion picture.
No,
Not the
no.
fine. Like
Nope.
I don't think so. No.
No.
No, I mean all we get
4
really is
and
Ricardo-
Picard.
Right. all we get is like Ricardo Montalban going Kirk.
This Picard was just filthy.
Yes, it was.
I thought Khan would have said something in his.
And yet no.
No.
A
Khan's
lot of that
too
has to
intelligent
do-
to curse. He's too intelligent to curse. He wouldn't.
It's
do
not
that.
even that. It had everything to do with the differences in ratings.
I think Data also cursed in one of those movies.
Okay.
He does, but this is later.
Side note, even though
Yeah.
my family told me I've heard curse words since I was an infant, my first one that I remembered, I was like 4 or something, or whatever. Like, okay, sorry.
Is this
Marie.
gonna make me angry? Because
No,
I feel like my
a little
rating.
bit. It's gonna make you a little bit angry, but you already booted me out once. So like,
Get the
I got
wine
my
ready.
finger on the button.
so like, Generations came out the same year I was born,
Oh wow.
which was 94. Okay.
Wow.
Yeah.
You're youngin.
There he goes.
Anyway, so
She took herself out.
well, here you go. No, so when I heard Data curse for the first time, I laughed so hard because you're right. I don't recall any other curse word being said in. I mean, the occasional one in TNG, but like as far as films go, that was the first one I remembered.
TNG
Yes.
was basic cable, I don't even think we got.
I
a
mean,
curse
there was
word
like
there.
damn and hell, but not like
No, yeah.
No, like nothing major.
No
one
fucks.
said the F bomb or the S word or the MF word. None of it. They
Yeah,
didn't
and the only reason we can do that in Picard is because it's a streaming service.
right.
Yeah.
Right,
They didn't
right.
even say the MF word until Discovery.
Also, I really
Yes.
love that it's the MF word.
I'm trying to be better.
William's trying to clean up his act. That's all.
That
I'm
ship
trying
has
to be
sailed.
better. I'm trying to be better.
That ship has sailed and crashed and is at the
This
bottom. of the ocean.
motherfucker. She said, "Now, William, have you
Yeah.
forgotten what show this is?"
wait
So-
till they do that Tarantino one.
I'm gonna need you to stop. I'm gonna need you to stop. Like I heard.
Yeah, Raphael's
somebody,
off
I heard
the show.
somebody say something.
Uh,
I mean,
it's a-
Raphael's new, so he doesn't know yet.
He might introduce some really good dialogue into it. You never know.
Is that his name, Raphael?
Yes.
Pleasure to
That's
meet you.
me.
Hello.
Yes,
Thank
and
you.
William
You
Walker,
too.
obviously. Yeah, no, I mean, we have a motley crew today. So yeah, as Voyage Home, going back to it, like this is frequently the gateway drug, right? I distinctly remember watching this at a church lock-in because I grew up in the
They
rural
actually
South.
showed this at a church.
Yeah,
Fascinating.
yeah.
Mm.
And the next one we watched was Highlander 2, and I still haven't decided if they hated me or
That's
Yeah.
a weird
watched-
movie to
Was
watch.
the original not Renegade version? Then if it was the original version, they hated you.
I think
If it was if it was the Renegade version, they just slightly disliked you.
No, I think it was the original version.
I think I watched Highlander 2 like last year, and I was like, this movie was kind of bad.
is
Yeah,
bad.
right.
The original theatrical version is bad.
It was 2 because 3 was with Mario Van Peebles, right?
Yeah.
That's also
That was
bad.
Which is also
That's-
terrible.
But
Yeah.
not as bad as 2, just riddled with inaccuracies and plot holes, and like they really screw with the timeline stuff.
And it's just
So-
like, and then
I think all of them are pretty
Christopher
bad
Lambert
after
also
the
has
first.
that terrible like. throughout
First
half
one's
the movie.
awesome. First one's
Yeah.
awesome. The
And
first
then
one
it
with
kind of
Adrian
goes
Paul.
downhill.
Yeah, the one with Adrian Paul. The first one with Adrian Paul picks it back up again, and then they made The Source, and it all went to shit.
Oh,
from
that
there.
was hard.
I'm
That was-
sorry. I'm
that-
sorry, Marco. These words are coming out of your mouth, and I
The
have
Source
no
was an
idea.
hour and 44, hour and a half. It was short, an hour and a
And
half
yes,
music
yes,
video.
Marie, I did say church lock-in.
And it had that guy in it.
Yes, it's absolute child abuse. You're
Who's that
100% right.
Who's that guy? Who always plays a bad guy and everything back then.
Everybody,
and
like,
every
that
every
Marie
sci-fi
Flanagan.
movie, every sci-fi movie, he's like a bad guy. I can't remember what his name is. Never mind.
Oh, Clancy Brown.
Michael Ironside.
Ironside. Yeah.
Oh
Yeah,
yes,
it's just-
that
it's
was
just the one
Michael
half-
Ironside.
Yeah, it's
Yeah.
6 of 1 half dozen of the other.
Chewing the
It's also
scenery in every scene he was in.
Has he ever been in Star Trek, Michael Ironside?
Not without a mask. I haven't seen him.
Yeah.
That's an excellent question, and
I'm
I'm
looking.
gonna say possibly. Hey William, you got a keyboard handy?
He would
I mean,
make
who
a good
hasn't?
Klingon.
Right now, I'm looking.
Who
right
hasn't been in it? Yeah.
Awesome. I mean, up
feel
to
like he
and
has.
including like the future king of Jordan.
I feel like he has.
I feel like there's been so much Star Trek, and you always
Oh
see
wait
so
a
many
minute,
actors in it.
that was the bad guy from Total Recall, right?
Yes,
Yeah.
yes.
Well, he
Okay.
was the henchman bad guy. He was the bad
Okay,
henchman.
I
Yeah.
think because I remember seeing like the meme where it showed all of the TNG and well, not even TNG, but all the Star Trek actors that played in it. Even Gul Dukat was in it. Like I didn't. Oh yeah, he was one of the officers. Yeah,
Yeah.
in Total Recall, the original Total Recall.
Yeah.
Right,
Yeah.
right.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm trying
Yeah.
to see if
I mean, theoretically, they made a second one, but I don't know anything about that. That's one of those things that also didn't happen.
Nope.
Just
Marie
didn't
does not
happen.
like to learn from mistakes.
I do
No,
not.
Marie likes to
actually.
ignore the mistakes. Head in the sand, her feet sticking up.
Just like Hollywood.
No
Right.
mistakes.
he never did Star Trek, but he did do Scanners. He did do Sequest DSV.
He
Yes.
did a
He
lot
did
of
do-
sci-fi.
He
Yeah.
did
A lot of
Smallville.
sci-fi.
He did X-Men First Class. He did Total Recall, and he did Starship Troopers.
Like, he's been everywhere.
Yeah.
Like,
I'm
I
surprised
mean, just
he's not in
everywhere.
Star Trek.
He probably wants too much money.
Or
It's not.
I don't know.
It's not too
Maybe
late.
they were
It's still
like, maybe they
alive.
were like, he's too terrifying. We're not going to do
Yeah.
that. All right, guys, let's bring it back to Star Trek 4. Let's bring it back to Star Trek 4.
Oh, yeah.
Um,
good
Let's
luck with that.
voyage on back to Star Trek 4.
well, yes,
Well,
let's,
there you go.
Let's voyage
Ah,
on. folks.
ba-dum-bum.
Sure. Yeah, let's. Yeah.
The first movie I remember owning a videotape of.
Did
my
you own
mother's-
that videotape that came with the set that you had in a box and it looked like a whole show?
No, it was just the one. My mother's
Honey, that
friend
was, no.
that she grew up with. For
That's how
some reason was selling videotapes out of her home. Like it was like one of those pyramid schemes, like buy these videotapes and sell them from your home. And there was like that. I think my mother bought like I don't know if it was Gone with the Wind or something. I forget what it was. But that was like the first movie. Like I want this one. This is the only out of all the movies she had. It's the only one that resonated with me. So I'm like all right, I want a copy of Star Trek 4. That was one of the first videotapes we ever owned.
I think
Like an
I saw it
actual.
on. I think I saw it on ABC on a Sunday. Like it was like a Sunday movie special. They had it on TV.
I mean, I saw it in the theaters. Then I wanted the videotape when they eventually came around to it. Remember
Well,
back in
yeah.
the day, it took forever for things to come out on videotape.
Yeah.
Yes. it
Yeah, yeah.
Well, a lot of that had to do with the fact that there was this massive lawsuit
lawsuit.
where Sony was actually suing the manufacturer, trying to basically say that, you know, videotapes would be like the VCR was illegal because it was a copyright violation. That's
What?
all it was for. And then ultimately the court came down on the idea that it's not, that, you know, it's perfectly acceptable to purchase tapes and watch them.
Yeah, I mean, and Blockbuster and every other video store proved that wrong by ordering thousands upon thousands of them every time it came out.
She may have, Marie. She may have sold them there. Yes.
I'm a little concerned. That would be a hell of a trip up and down the East Coast, I gotta say.
Millions.
It was like she had like
Right.
one of those like box. You know, you go to the store and like things are in like a box that you can put on the shelf, and it says like a nice stand for it. Like it was really fancy, and all the videotapes were on like little shelves. It was really a fancy little thing that she had in her home. I was a little kid, so I was like, wow, that's amazing. You know, these cool videotapes. And, like we had just gotten a VCR. Like, oh, this is really, really cool. Yeah.
I used to
Also-
record the movies on TV and replay it for later.
That's
Yep.
illegal.
Only if
if you
I
don't-
sell it though.
And
No,
you
or if
invite,
you have more than
you
like one
invite
or
your
two
friends
people.
and charge them $1. Is that
Yeah.
what you did?
No.
Even if you just invite your friends over, it's still illegal.
Raphael's
You have to
like, I
charge them
should have thought of that.
I should have. Yeah.
$1 a piece.
Yeah, right.
How about the?
Man,
I-
Marie is seriously bringing back all the stops.
I
Like
was-
this
This is the
fair.
I
We're in the 80s right now.
Michael were here so he and Marie can just be in the comments. I'm loving this energy right now. The other Michael, I think.
Also, everybody, Murray Flanagan is actually
there are
one of my
people.
editors at Game Industry News and an all-around fabulous human being. So thank you so much for watching tonight. Yeah,
have to-
so that's that party.
I'm gonna have to jump
Um,
on the comments. Hold on.
Before I came on, did y'all go over the summary, or are we talking about the cinematic backstory to
We did the summary.
We did the summary. We did the summary, and
yeah.
we talked about the reciprocal
Okay.
God clauses, which is what I'm going to call them forever.
Okay.
And anybody who watches on Monday when we do Star Trek 5, you're going to hear that again.
It was a very interesting conversation about Star Trek 5, but if I may ask this, because I feel like you could answer this way better than I could. Just like for the TNG films, they didn't know if there was even going to be a next film. Did they plan?
No, they did.
They planned it out.
No, they knew that there would at least be Star Trek 5 because of the same issue with the contracts.
Okay, so okay.
How about the fact that
Good talk, William.
Scotty
Thank you.
invented
Thank you so much.
Transparent aluminum.
Yeah.
Oh,
All right, build on that. I really, because
Okay.
Wasn't
one
that
of the things
recently
one of the things that,
invented?
like
Yeah.
Star Trek 4 does is it's just like timeline, schmimeline. So let's talk about that. So Williams,
Ooh.
transparent aluminum, or not William, Jason, transparent
Yeah.
aluminum. Y'all, it's been a day / week.
I mean, it was very comical in the movie. I mean, it's cool that it actually exists now. Somebody's actually created transparent aluminum. I don't know if it's as strong as it was in Star Trek. Someone should actually test it out with whales. That would be applicable. I think
If they do, they'll get our respect. Like,
if that's how you tell. Yeah, if you can't do that, then don't even say you
Don't even
invented the
try.
thing.
Don't even
Right.
get out of bed if you can't handle the
Right.
whales.
well,
Right.
I mean, yeah.
But-
Aside from that, after Jason is done, I have another fun timeline fact. But go ahead, Jason.
I mean, they just pushed away the whole, don't taint the timeline rules.
Right.
the,
just
the temporal prime directive.
Yeah, how do we know he didn't invent the damn thing?
Exactly.
I
Yeah.
guess we don't know.
Also, there are so many great lines in this movie.
I love when
Well-
Scotty was talking to the computer.
Yeah,
They start getting
So,
the mouse.
fun fact, my dad actually does that periodically. Like, he forgets that a mouse. Yeah, I know. I have seen the man. Like, he's also the sort of person that would like use whiteout on the actual screen.
Oh.
Except that like whiteout was for his secretary. It was not for dad. But I have seen him pick up the mouse and be like, blah, 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 blah.
I had to pull myself back and think about that last statement, but I'm back. Okay. White out for his last secretary, and I'm like, well, what the hell did he do to his first secretary? But I'm
This podcast suddenly took a turn.
right.
We don't like to talk about that so much. We don't talk about that, William.
I'm sorry. I'm being good.
There's still things pending on that, so we can't really talk about that, William.
Did you just sanitize the screen?
Yeah, because I'm
Awesome.
very unclean. Oh, look at this! This is what happens when you
No.
pull me onto this damn show.
I love how Scotty just goes on the keyboard and just starts going.
Right.
Yeah.
Right, and he's on like an Apple IIe, y'all. Like, I mean, this is not the
It's not
cutting
like-
edge.
No, not even an Apple IIe. It's an
No.
Apple Macintosh SE.
Right, there you go. Yes,
A keyboard.
Yes, you're right.
How quaint.
So
Yeah.
Right, and there's literally no set of keystrokes that would that could compel
Could-
the
could do
computer
that.
to generate those images because it just wasn't capable.
So
Right.
Jason,
Yeah.
who invented transparent aluminum?
I don't know. I guess we could look that up.
Oh, well, we hear.
I'm gonna go with that dude who quit smoking in the 80s.
Like, dude, quit smoking.
I mean, because he has that button, right? Like, I mean, I'm just like, this is so funny because you think about it,
Listen.
right?
Invented.
Because
Nobody likes a quitter.
Yeah, but I mean, yes, which is hilarious. But also, like, there's so many like mild sort of digs and reflections of Nimoy's kind of general outlook, right? Like, I mean, the whole point of this is because Nimoy was very much into environmentalism at that particular point. And, you know, there's this great line that Spock has when he talks about like this dubious flirtation with nuclear power. And we know now that nuclear power is actually not that terrible. I mean, so long as you're not Russian, apparently.
So did he write some of the script?
A lot of, I mean, he doesn't get a writing credit for this, but he definitely had kind of like a very real vision for where he wanted this to go. And that's why we're doing Whales, is because he wanted to make the point that, you know, in the 80s, we were destroying the environment. We're still destroying the environment. Like, this hasn't changed.
Yeah.
But that message did get across though about the whales, like to the
and
world.
they almost arrested everybody, right? Like, because even in 1986, humpback whales were protected, and the whole situation where Nimoy swimming with the whale is a puppet.
Oh yeah, yeah,
right. And the puppets, and it's crazy, right? Because, you know, we look at it now, and, you know, we have the benefit of CGI and even better CGI. And we're like, those are clearly puppets. But in 1986, they had built such a realistic whale that environmentalist groups were like, he's legit harassing a whale. Like, this is not good. And so they had to have this whole thing where they're like, these are the puppets. This is what we built.
Okay, I found the graph. I'm going to put it up now.
You think they'll ever revisit this storyline with the probe in another like series or something?
I hope so.
I would like it if they did it. I would like if they did it more often with a lot of things. I mean, there's so many first and only contacts in Star Trek. It's crazy.
I have to tell you, I kind of like that they don't, and I kind of like that we have these random, you know, first contacts that don't really go anywhere. And the reason for that is that it's a big fucking galaxy, guys. Right? Big.
Right.
So,
right.
I mean, you may never encounter the same individual ever again, or the same species ever again, because, again, it's a big fucking galaxy.
But you don't think the Federation kept tabs on the probe when it left?
I'm sure they did.
I don't think they did. I don't think they had the power or the capability to do.
Well,
because remember, like, everything was shut down. We literally have that dude in the ship that's like, we are going to deploy a solar sail and hope to survive.
I mean, if you think about it, it kept on putting out so many what's electromagnetic
pulse, EMP. I'm not even sure if that's what it was. I think it was just some sort of like, we're going to hand wave.
It was an electromagnetic wave, not a pulse.
And as far as Scotty knowing how to touch type Marie, apparently in the academy, there is legitimately a whole series of study about archaic technologies, you know, in case you get stuck in 1986. It's a thing.
Yeah.
Which is, you know, like, I don't know if like all of you who watch Strange New Worlds, but there's a great moment in the finale where Pike is like, I've been at this long enough that I don't trust anybody who just shows up in my quarters claiming to be future me. And I'm like,
I like that too.
Yeah.
Although I'm not freaking out like, whoa, am I going crazy? I mean, he deductively reasoned that he could, that person, maybe he's not crazy, but maybe that person isn't exactly him. And, you know, prove it, buddy.
I mean, but it's not him. Exactly.
Not exactly.
It's a different him from a different time.
The failed him.
Right. Also, you know, gotta say, apparently he ages well. So good for him. Good for him.
I found it. Yeah. Here it is.
What is that?
So basically, ever since the year that movie came out, there has been an increase in the population of humpback whales.
So the whales like the movie, is what you're saying.
Yes. They're big fans.
They're
big fans.
They're huge, and it was the point that you're about to touch on, Jason, and Marie was getting around to was that, you know, I believe, were they endangered back then, and I guess now they're not. I mean, we're still screwing up the environment, but that movie had an impact on the population or the awareness of the population, and then it was so interesting that from that year, that's when they started to go up. You know,
you sure it wasn't Free Willy?
Could have been Free Willy. Free Willy came out about
Yeah,
like
but
a year
that's
before that.
killer whales, man. That's killer
Yeah.
whales. That was
Let Star Trek have its moment. Okay.
that was legit. That was legit pointing fingers in SeaWorld.
What was everyone's favorite scene in Star Trek 4?
I had a few. I mean, I like the double damn ass on you. That's pretty funny to me.
Yes. Them on the bus is pretty funny too.
I gotta go. Raphael was talking about earlier when Bones is in the hospital and he's looking at the technology they're using. He's like, I can't believe we got out of the dark ages. What these crappy people are using. Like that was one of my favorite things when he sees all that that horrible to him. Horrible medical technology.
My God, man! Drilling holes in his head is not the answer.
That was beautiful. That was beautiful.
Oh,
Yeah,
that's one of my favorite that whole scene.
I love Bones.
He just happens to have a old lady fixing pill in his pocket.
Right.
She gets up and she's like, I got a doc.
I got a new kidney. The doctor gave me a pill and I grew a new kidney. Yeah. And did anybody else love the fact that he was carrying a legit doctor's bag?
I'm trying to figure out how he got it.
I'm convinced that Jillian Taylor took them to like a Halloween store in 1986.
Replicators.
Well, yeah.
No, this was Klingon, man. Like they did not have those, nor did they have power.
Replicators weren't invented in that.
That's right. They didn't have enough power.
That's why we were all in this terrible situation to begin with, right? Is because the Klingon crystals were decrystallizing.
Yes, well, they had to go. They had to go to the nuclear vessel to get more. Somehow to suck them into that little doodad to get more.
In Alameda. I'm not gonna lie. I went to San Francisco not too long ago with my husband, and may or may not have done the Star Trek 4 tour of the city.
Wait a minute. So there's an actual tour?
No.
Like you actually went to the locations where they mentioned?
Yes.
Okay. Okay.
And my husband's like, "Are you insane?" And I'm going,
I'm not gonna say no.
Right. But yeah, no, I remember getting really excited when I saw the sign for Alameda. Yeah. And I'm looking at him, I turn to my husband and I'm like, the nuclear vessels are there. And he's all like, oh, please don't embarrass me in front of my coworkers. Like, that's so too late.
I got a question about replicators and when did they have them in TOS?
No.
We just didn't see them.
They did and they didn't. It was like a transitioning type thing between Enterprise and TNG. Like they had so it wasn't exactly a replicator, but in TOS they had like the food thing where it was
had a food slot.
But they never said where the food came from.
No.
Well, okay,
right?
so in
there's actually a galley in the original series Enterprise. We don't necessarily talk about it in terms of like chef the way we did in Enterprise,
right?
But there is actually a galley.
But it stands a reason if you have transporter technology, you can have replicator technology.
It probably didn't click for them at the time, but I mean,
I'm just going to point out that they didn't come up with that until TNG.
Wait, I heard that the replicator was made from the waste, human waste.
Okay. Yes. Someone's been watching Discovery. Well done, Raphael.
It's basically recycling.
Yeah.
I mean, the apple is made of shit.
I mean, they kind of do that now with water. They do that. We could do that now with water. But
that's basically like the pig. The pig is a general, replicator. It eats shit, apples, right? Things like that, and it produces bacon.
Apparently,
like that's fucking magic. It eats essentially garbage, right? Apples and fruits and vegetables, and it produces bacon.
Well, as long as you have the basic proteins, you can make anything.
That is magic to me.
I mean, if you think about it, it's all essentially molecules and proteins and carbons and all this other BS.
You're talking like a scientist now.
I mean, that's all it is.
I don't have the right degrees to have this conversation anymore.
I mean, it's just like you explained it in All Good Things. Like, amino acids coming closer and closer together to form the first protein. Which, by the way, is how I passed my biology exam in high school. So thank you. I'm so serious. I didn't study shit. I didn't study nothing. I just remembered, hey, I know that one. Amino acids. And they formed the first. My teacher asked me, how did you know that, William? You don't study any. I said, well, I don't study anything in science. I studied other stuff. I didn't care about science, which is weird because I like Star Trek. And I said, I was watching All Good. You said you watched Star Trek, didn't you? I said I was watching All Good Things. And Q said, if you put them closer together, you get the first protein. So Adam and Eve didn't come out of there because Q messed it up.
You should have said, I know my amino acids, bitch. Don't test me again.
I'm going to say that next time I see her.
Remember that. Practice it.
Time to get
No,
another degree.
no. I have so many degrees. It's like Pokemon. I'm good. I'd like to not be in school for a while.
But I think about stuff like that. Like my girlfriend was like irritated with me because one day it just like dawned upon me. This is not too long ago. I was just like, where does the mass of a tree come from? And I was like bothered by this for like an hour. I was just thinking about it before I wanted to look it up. It's just like, what? I don't know. Why are you thinking about that? Like, it comes out the ground. I was like, well, wouldn't there be a hole in the ground? Where does it come from? I think about these biological processes all the time. It comes from carbon, by the way, out of the air.
The tree.
The more you know.
The more you know.
A tree.
A tree.
Knowing is half the battle.
I think it starts
the other
off.
half being red and blue lasers. Man,
That's
we
right.
are
And
deeply
violence.
in the 80s.
And a lot of violence.
Well, if you think about it, let's bring it back to Star Trek 4. Like, we know what TOS did, we know what TNG did, and how in others sparked other scientists, but like, did Star Trek 4, in terms of the Scotty scene and the Doctor scene, make you ask scientific questions you normally wouldn't ask if you didn't see it?
No.
Because it made me, because because
Wait, which scene?
Well, any of them really, because the dialysis thing really made me think about how chaotic it really is, that you're basically hooked to a machine and it runs your kidney, like, and
I mean, it doesn't run your kidney; it cleans your blood.
Yeah, it literally pulls all of your blood out of it and cycles it back into you.
So I mean, we create these huge machines to do something that biology has figured out to do in a small, compact way. It's just hard for us to do it, but we're getting better and better and smaller as time.
Right.
As
So that was the question.
Evolves.
Yeah, that was the question. Is like, these scientific things, did it stand out, or was it like just saving the whales?
Which is interesting, right? Because what you're getting at is this nexus between Star Trek and the development of new technologies, right? For example, like the first flip phones were based on the original
TOS.
Series communicators, right? iPads came from like PADDs from the next generation, because like Star Trek, has envisioned these ideas of things, and then people are like, "Hey, I bet we can do that."
Right. Yeah.
I bet we can do that, and so you're right. There is a really interesting nexus with Star Trek that doesn't quite exist with other franchises.
Right.
I'm still waiting for the teleporter.
Right.
They're working on it.
So they technically have one, but they can only move small objects across short distances.
Yeah,
but it doesn't completely destroy the thing and replicate a new one on the other end.
No,
they don't moving you.
They don't move an object. They move the information. So they have a particle. And they take the information of that particle, and they can make that particle on the other end.
Yeah, so they're destroying the first one. You have to destroy it and recreate it.
I think there's a difference between take the Iconians, for instance. I think there is a difference between a transporter and a teleporter. Like, a teleporter will just move, will be like a wormhole, put two ends of space together, and you just walk through. Whereas a transporter will break you down.
Yeah,
like a data chip, and put you in a whole other location.
It doesn't even need to. No, the transporter doesn't even need to break you down. It just needs to scan your body's information and send that information to somewhere else to reconstitute you.
So really,
then how do you not have how do you?
Then there's a whole bunch of you running around. Trust me, you don't want that.
Well, that's why they destroy the other one. That's why.
So wow.
Well, we transported you. We have to shoot you now.
Shit. I mean, we just got into.
You're running around over there. We can't have you running around over here too.
Well, okay, because
I want the replicator.
Hugh Jackman and Christian Bale are.
I want the replicator, the food replicator, and I want a holodeck, but I ain't gonna do nothing good with it.
Because if
now,
like nobody is gonna do.
You can't have the holodeck because nobody's doing anything good with it.
No. And that's what I loved about Deep Space Nine, right? Like, because Deep Space Nine is the first Star Trek franchise installment that just basically acknowledges what we're all going to use the holodeck for, which is, fucking.
It's the same thing we use the internet for.
But transporters can't work in that way, because if you break down all your matter and just turn it into energy, and then shoot that energy somewhere, it's going to just destroy wherever you shoot it. Like the amount of energy contained in your hand will destroy a spaceship if you just shoot all that energy somewhere. So you can't transport, you can't turn your body into energy and then shoot the energy. All you can do is move the information. If that makes sense.
Can you flesh that out a little bit more for me?
Say it like this. So what a transporter is me.
I'm going to point out that this is a Technotrek conversation.
Taking this piece of paper, I take this piece of paper and I'm sending this to you. So I scan it, I send the information through the internet. On your end, you have a machine that has matter that can reconstruct the matter back into this print.
Okay. Right.
So the basic concept of like nuclear energy is that if you break down the amount of energy if you turn my hand into energy and you multiply that times the square root of the speed of light, which is the large number, you get the amount of energy that's in my hand, which would destroy anything it touched. So you can't shoot that energy into a spaceship's transport or anything, or you just destroy the ship.
Well, except that's literally the entire point of the transporter, right? Like, it literally breaks you down into energy particles and reassembles you in different locations, right? Like, you go to a different transporter pad, and the transporter pad has a gadget that like reassembles you.
Forget it. This time I'll walk.
Exactly. I mean, the entire point of the transporters, like the reason Gene Roddenberry came up with this is because they had the designs for the Enterprise, and he's just like, how the fuck am I going to land this thing? You know what?
Yeah.
No, not gonna land. Just not gonna do much
money. I was gonna say, how are you? I mean, they answered it in the Gorn episode, but I was really wondering, how does a Constitution class ship land? Like,
if you said that wasn't a Constitution class.
No, it was a space shuttle.
No, the U.S. Peregrine was something else.
Okay.
No, I'm talking about Kirk's ship.
The Enterprise.
Yeah, like how do you land that ship?
You're not supposed to ever land it. It's not made to land.
Well, I've seen in the other YouTube show, but I've seen and read where Gene Roddenberry did admit that it does have a saucer section. Of course, it has a saucer section, but it can separate. They just never did that in TOS, even though it was written. But he took that idea and just used it in the first episode of TNG instead. So, but same thing for the Galaxy class. How do you land that ship?
Well, that's why they have space
very
docks.
Carefully with a big parking pass.
Well, that's why Voyager they made an effort to say this ship has a landing structure and it can land on planets.
Yeah.
So I mean, the thing about it is like,
which they did often.
You could not actually land it because the sheer mass of the ship would literally like cause certain types of strata to crumble.
Right,
so,
because
so my brother flies A-10s, right?
Hello.
Who is it? Who's it going to be when you get here?
So it turns out that A-10 is a super heavy plane, and so
don't land it in the mud. That's what she's trying to say.
Yeah, don't land it rough.
Don't land it in the sand, like they told us we used to do photography in Miami for cars.
Yes,
they said don't pull it in the sand, and we pulled it in the sand and got stuck.
All right, guys. Talk amongst yourselves.
Are you being too loud, Marie?
We got you.
I am. I'm being too loud. I'm the worst. I'm gonna go be mom for a second.
Okay.
Or just bring him in here. I can play Uncle Jason's time.
Uncle Jason's time. I'm dead.
All right, Marie's gone. Let's talk about her. Just kidding.
Okay. All right. Let's talk about her. Let's do it. And we'll say it's Mark.
Raphael, I can't believe you said that.
I'm scared.
Not the geeky dad says I'm scared. Okay, so yeah, go on, Jason.
I was just gonna say, so like we talk about ruining the timeline. Kirk was like the whole time really wanting to tell he didn't say it flat out at first, but he's really wanting to tell her what was up, like from the beginning. He was like being kind of around the bush at times, but the whole time he was like he had no intention of like safeguarding the timeline or anything like that.
But I mean, was he ever really that sticking to rules? Did he really ever care to stick to the rules and like that? He was just like, I got to get the job done, whatever it takes.
Yeah.
And if I got to tell her what we're doing, what the pointy ear guy's doing, then that's what we're going to do.
In the original series, he wanted to save that girl from dying in the past as well. Remember?
He tried,
Right?
and he realized
Yeah.
that he wasn't supposed to.
Edith Keeler.
Yeah,
Who was played by Dynasty's.
Joan Rivers.
Well,
Yes,
that was
she was Joan
before.
Rivers.
That was before she got on Dynasty. That
No,
was before
Joan
she-
Rivers. Like, oh no,
That was before Dynasty. Yes,
that
that
was
was
before
Joan Rivers.
Dynasty.
That's Spaceballs.
I mean, I'm
Joan
sorry.
Rivers.
No, I'm sorry. Not Joan Rivers.
Joan Collins.
Collins.
Joan
Joan
Collins.
Joan Collins. Thank you.
Yeah.
Joan Rivers would have been a way better play. Probably not.
Yeah.
Dude, I'm gonna make it.
What was with the What was with the 80s? There's a lot of time travel movies in the 80s.
Because
It was
sci-fi,
that era.
because sci-fi was ramping up in the 80s, and because of things like Star Trek, I mean not Star Trek, Star
I think
Wars.
Terminator-
Actually, because of Star Trek in the 70s.
Didn't Terminator
60s and
come out in
70s.
like Back to the Future and Terminator came out in like the late 80s?
Both 80s, yeah.
Yeah,
But, I mean-
so it was a time travel era because I remember the late 90s was like not aside from Alien, but was like the horror or dark space. You know how like sci-fi movies from 95 to 2000 looked a little too dark and they were like
Right, yeah.
like First
Event
Contact
Horizon,
or
Yeah.
Event Horizon was crazy.
was it, yeah, Event Horizon.
which is a
if I-
fantastically underrated movie, by the way.
I loved that movie. I loved how much it scared me as an adult.
But Hollywood does that, right? It does. A script goes around, and then like 14 other scripts very similar are also floating around. That's how you get Armageddon and Deep Impact
Also,
right next to
yeah.
each other. You know what I mean?
Also,
you have
like,
the natural disaster, asteroid movies. You have
You had the
lot
Back
of-
of the Future movies also in the 80s at the same time, right?
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
then
Yeah.
there's
But I think a
and
lot
then-
of what was going on in the 80s, though, is the 80s had like this unprecedented, explosion in terms of, consumerism and American power. And so suddenly people are then starting to take a look at potential environmental impacts. And so that actually causes this kind of cultural interest in, possibly, like, where's the future going to go? Which is why we get a whole lot of dystopian science fiction.
Right.
That's
Always
that's
wrong.
that's not necessarily fascist in nature.
Boy,
but,
were they
like,
wrong.
Yeah, right. But then, of course, you go back a little, and there's a fascination with being able to go back and fix things, right? Like, because the 80s is still, narratively speaking, an entire decade of at least as far as American cinema is concerned. I don't want to speak for the rest of the world. But as far as American cinema is concerned, of being obsessed with the happy ending, with being able to wrap this up.
Don't forget
Yeah.
Time Cop.
Yes, and also cocaine.
I don't even
Also
know,
cocaine.
I don't even know what context this is in, but okay.
Time Cop. Oh.
Something for everybody. It's a good philosophical question. I always ask
absolutely.
people
Yeah,
if you
just-
could go back in time and solve something or
So
change
clearly
something major.
you have not seen Crocodile Dundee, William. I'm sorry.
Oh no. I've seen
Yeah.
1 and 2. Yeah.
If you haven't seen 3, I don't want to talk. So because that's whew, back in
Isn't
LA.
three?
That's the
that
one,
didn't
yeah.
happen. That didn't happen, right?
Is it
Again
three?
with You Can't Hide It.
Okay.
Yes, he's in LA. It's magical. It's Crocodile Dundee in
All
LA.
right.
It's
So your philosophical
wonderful.
question. We have 8 minutes.
If you could go back in time and change something major in history, let's say the kill Hitler routine, would you do it?
No, he lost anyway, and who knows? Something would have been worse after that.
I'd rather go to the
Well, not
future
just- I mean,
instead.
Yeah, but I mean, it doesn't have to be the Hitler, but that's just obviously one of the major ones people would talk about. But like, change something.
It's hard to say. It's too many variables. I mean,
So one of the things I really liked about Strange New Worlds, the
Yeah,
last
I
episode,
thought- yeah,
there's
you're
this
gonna-
really
yeah.
amazing point where the writers just put in Anson Mount's mouth this, causality is complicated, and it turns out that if you make minor changes, you fuck up big things down the road,
Right.
and sometimes things just have to go badly at first.
I would stop Eve from eating the fruit.
Honestly,
None of us are here.
This is what I would do. This is what I would do. I wouldn't change the past, but I would do something that wouldn't change the past, but would have as equal impact as if I did change the past to how I want it. So often, depending on who the conqueror or who the storyteller is, they often lie to us about what really happened in history. Give me Harry Potter's cloak or some cloaking technology. Give me a camera. I will go back and film whatever actually happened way back when. Bring it back and say, this is what happened. Go fuck yourselves. This is don't lie to me anymore. This is the truth. Like,
I'm literally going to point out that
Your video's all
there are
doctored.
a number of people who legitimately don't believe that the insurrection took place.
I got people that don't even believe the Holocaust.
All right, I gotta go here soon, guys.
There's still,
No, I seriously.
there's still people who think the Earth is flat.
I know, right?
I
there's
got
an
two people.
entire
I got
Prove
two
that
people
it's
at work
not.
that think the Earth is flat, or that the Earth has an ocean over it in space.
I would love to get on the call with these people. Hook it up, William.
All right, I'll bring them on. But
I would love to do it.
Isn't that whole
this is opposite
day-night diagram?
I'm literally going to need you to
Day,
let me know in advance.
everywhere, all
Because
the time.
I'm going to have to go to Costco to buy their bourbon.
I will invite them to the show, and
It's got to be laced with Maurice cocaine.
And then opposite checks be like, now here's
Be
the
very
thing.
careful. Marie Flanagan's
thing.
cocaine, not
Marie-
Marie Brown.
Marie is
All right,
gonna
guys. Sorry, I gotta go early.
see you, Jason.
All right, Jason.
Bye, Jason.
All right,
Thanks
bye.
for having me.
Yeah,
Don't talk about anything important while I'm gone.
okay.
All right.
Yeah, I'm good at that.
See ya.
Bye.
So I was
Do you like cream cheese on toast? Oh, he said nothing important. Do you like cream cheese on toast?
So all I was gonna say was, if I were to bring my friends on here, we all have to wear Q's judgment outfit, like, and make sure it's a kangaroo court, like from the what's it called, the Atomic Horror, like we do that, and we like, you know, I would totally. That's the only reason I would wear one, is if we have like new people like truly trying, like, no, like I'm literally at work folding clothes, minding my own life, and they're really telling me that not only is the Earth flat, but everything is actually that the flat Earth is encompassed by ocean in the dome.
So, do they also subscribe to the koala theory?
I
the
would
koala-
much rather
what's the
lean on the
koala
koala theory.
I know,
than the
apparently,
flat
like
Earth
the Earth is
balanced
like,
on the back of a giant koala. Yeah.
Yeah.
I would much rather
Okay.
go with that theory, in a metaphorical sense, than the Earth being flat and in a dome and in a deep ocean of water. I'm stuck on that.
Yeah, I've
I mean,
listened.
I don't
I've
even
listened
know,
to
like-
some of these guys. They're pretty. It's fascinating to hear them talk. though.
So the thing about it is, it's like, I
Not
mean,
enough
you're gonna
drugs.
bring,
There's
like,
not
you're
enough
gonna
drugs
bring
on
these
the earth.
videos back, and nobody's going to believe them. Like, I mean, well, the people who already know and are like, yeah, no, that, you know, the way people did terrible things, they're gonna be like, yeah, no, that's fair, and then everybody else is gonna be like, nope, nope.
Hey, I mean, you're right, because humans are going to believe what they want to believe at the end of the day. I think maybe even just for me, I would like to go back and see, like, for instance, like, I won't change anything. I won't do anything. I don't want to be in the sky. Just make me invisible. I would like to go back and see the crucifixion. I would like to go back and see David and Jonathan. I would like to go back and see Moses. I would like to go back and see. I just want to see it. Like, I don't want to change anything. I don't want to talk to them. I just want to see it. Like, that's me. Like,
I gotta tell you, like, no, I don't have the stomach for that.
If I go back in time, it's going to benefit myself. I'm going to give myself like lotto numbers and
Right.
have you seen Back
Investments.
to the Future? Have you seen
Yeah.
Back to the Future?
I did. That's
The
a
almanac,
movie.
man, the almanac. Oh man,
I'm just not. We got 3 minutes left. Did we?
we do. Like, final thoughts on actual Star Trek 4. Like, in addition to the fact that, like, obviously this is one of those amazing films that keep us coming back over and over and over again.
It's my second favorite Trek movie, I would say.
Yeah, it's definitely the one I go back to the most. If I just feel like watching one,
Yes.
I'll watch 4. It's the
Yeah.
like you said, it's the easiest entry one. You don't need to have a lot of Star Trek prior knowledge to peripheral characters, and when you get to, you know, Undiscovered Country and, you know, all those other ones, you kind of like need to have more Star Trek
Right,
backstory knowledge. This one you really don't. Probes attacking Earth. We got to go back, get some whales because we screwed them all up, and let's go back and solve the problem. Done day.
Yeah, and
So
also,
much easier.
like, you know, fundoscopic examination is unrevealing in these cases.
Yes, that's right.
Even for
I
me,
love the music they choose for, like, that sequence where Chekhov is like running, like,
and they never use that
running
again.
up,
And they never use that again if they do it totally in lower decks. Like,
right?
yeah.
And it's so fantastic, and it's just like, and here is Chekhov, who is, I don't know if you have seen this guy, but Walter Koenig is tiny.
Yes.
Yeah.
I didn't realize how short he was.
I am 5'4", and I towered over this man. I was like, I feel tall. That's weird.
He's just an itty bit of a thing. You put him right in your pocket. Nobody even knows he's there.
Right. It's like, you know,
We should take him out.
Polly Chekhov. Yeah. And so, like, it's just really funny because they manage like the sheer amount of camera work that they have to do to make him look like a normal person is amazing.
A lot of forced perspective before that was a thing.
Right, and he just goes for it. I love it. I love it. This is, of course, why he's wearing heeled boots, right?
Oh, okay. Yeah. I didn't notice that.
Oh, yeah, I remember that.
Yeah.
I remember the heeled boots.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
And the kind of vaguely, like, the vaguely 70s era, like.
Yeah. For me,
leather
I didn't realize how of course I was young when I watched it, but my top favorite scene that I could grasp at that age was near the end, not the very end, but near the end when they were pretty much having a splash party. Like, as a human, I felt at a young age that didn't understand sci-fi, I understood happiness. Right. And it was like, I like them and I like this. Can I see this again? Like, I didn't.
And then, of course, like the fact that
the door's coming down, by the way.
Did not like.
Yeah, that door's coming down. Just so you know.
It is. I know. Yeah. I know. I can tell.
Those are my final thoughts. Yeah.
All right, so we have reached the hour mark. I want to thank Marie Flanagan for coming along and living in our comments section. Marco, always it's a pleasure. Raphael, welcome to the show for your first time. I hope
yeah, fun. Thank you.
Yeah, William, can you roll that beautiful bean footage?
All right, later, guys.
Later, everybody.
All right, bye.
Bye.
Now, again, I'm going to say this again because we're near the end of our show. If you are our allies, we are not talking to you. We are not talking to you. This does not... Okay? We're not talking to you. Stop trying to take our and make it your goddamn business. It ain't got nothing to do with you. It ain't got nothing to do with you.
Our experience of grief independently.
Bruh.
Yes.
I love that they're in the comments.
So much is like I'm just reading the comments.
Yeah. They should have brought that child out. Such a good point, Will. God, that's such a good point. And he's really thought about it too. You should be here. William, get over here.
I thought he had a girlfriend on Insta. It's been ages since I've mucked about, but.
Okay, moving on. Let's move on.
Oh, yeah, we gotta move on.